Travis, today we're going to discuss an interesting issue. Europe's economic lag and how it stacks up against the U.S., particularly in light of a report that Mario Draghi, who's urging Europe to adopt more American-style reforms.
Yeah, and Draghi, he's been a major player in European politics, and he's best known for saving the Eurozone from the during their debt crisis. Yeah. Now he's back, and he's warning that Europe is falling behind in several key areas, and for the first time since the Cold War, its self-preservation is at stake. In his report for the European Commission, Draghi, we're going to have a hard time with that all video, I think.
Yes.
Draghi says Europe must innovate faster and become more dynamic to compete globally. And in particular, he's talking about the United States.
Yeah, and one of the most striking things Draghi highlights is innovation. Since 2008, a third of Europe's what they call unicorn startups, those valued at $1 billion or more, have left Europe to go to the U.S. He also points out that about 70% of all AI models developed worldwide have come from the U.S., with Europe contributing only 15% of those.
Yeah.
This shows just how much Europe's lagging in critical technology sectors.
It's quite a big lead. 70% of AI models, and I know that number, like in terms of data centers, I think we have 70% of the data centers, or close to, in the world right now.
We've talked about that.
It's a big lead, right? Yeah. So, and this ties directly into dynamism. I think I got that word right. Dynamism.
So, quite the word.
The U.S. has created 6 companies worth over $1 trillion in the last 50 years, like Apple and Amazon that people are familiar with.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Europe hasn't founded a single company worth over $100 billion.
Wow.
In that same period.
That's crazy.
That's a massive gap in economic power and economic influence, and Draghi believes that's mainly due to Europe's fragmented policies and regulations among its 27 states. It's a lot harder to wrangle 27 different states together than one union like we have here. So.
Yeah, that's true. That fragmentation also plays a role in trade. And the U.S. has embraced protectionism and is decoupling from China, while Europe hasn't adjusted its trade strategies at all. Draghi warns that Europe's reliance on absorbing China's industrial overcapacity could make it vulnerable. He also argues that Europe, like the U.S., should be more assertive by using tariffs and trade measures when needed to protect its own industries as well.
Yeah, tariffs, trade, these are big.
So big items right now.
Big items or topics. You're even hearing about it in U.S. elections, right?
We are.
Throwing around the tariffs talk. So now, Draghi obviously isn't suggesting that the U.S. economy is flawless. We know it's not. We're here. There are challenges, but compared to Europe's, the U.S. is much better positioned to handle global competition by some of the items we talked about.
Right.
And the bottom line here, Steve, is that Draghi's report should be a wake-up call for Europe, as it risks falling further behind if it doesn't embrace bold changes. And again, those changes are around innovation, trade, and dynamism. I got it right again. So now, whether Europe can adapt quickly enough remains to be seen, but based on his report, the stakes are pretty high.
With how far they're behind, Travis, it's going to be really hard for them, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Absolutely, yeah.
This has been great. I look forward to it next week.
Look forward to it as well.